Hello and welcome back to the Den. My name's Dylan, and today we're going to be ranking every theatrical Alien film. Now, I'm focusing on theatrical releases only to save time and for simplicity's sake, honestly. So if you do want a ranking of every director's cut or special edition version of these films, plus the short films, because there are plenty of those, be sure to subscribe because I will do that someday. I just want to focus on the theatrical films for right now. Also, I have a ranking coming up for the Crow films. The new film comes out this weekend, so I should have a new ranking video out this weekend for that reason. So be sure to subscribe for that as well. Now, on to the ranking. First up, I want to talk about Alien Isolation. I'm putting it in A right now because I actually haven't played this yet. I want to play this so bad. It's been on my to playlist for like forever. I could watch the cutscenes, but I feel like that would do the story and the game an injustice. So I'm going to take my time and not rank it yet. So with that being said, let's go ahead and talk about the first movie. I'm going to rank it in A. I think this is a fantastic horror film, fantastic sci-fi, but after an hour in, it gets kind of boring. Unfortunately, I don't think the tension lasts that long. I feel like at the 1 hour mark, it should be starting to get a little bit more scary. It's a very slow burn, you know, which I appreciate. But on a rewatch, and you know what's going to happen, you can kind of tell how the film is meandering. I feel like it could also, and it was, I feel like it could be recut a little bit. I would like it to be 20 minutes shorter, honestly. Besides all the sacrilegious talk I've already spewed right now, I think it's fantastic. I love the world that it built. It's our future, and it's weird, and it's scary. We're riding along with the characters, too, you know? So a lot of the characters are audience surrogates for that reason. Especially Ripley. She's the final girl of the movie, and we can really relate to her and what she's saying and what her fight is in the game, you know? So we really want to root for their survival. And the little cat there, too. Just that little extra, I really hope that they make it out alive type of feeling. You know, the really edge of your seat tension does occur. But after that 1 hour mark, the tension is still a little there, you know, but it's easing down, you know. But I love the film. It's amazing. It starts this huge franchise. It's immediately successful. And speaking of which, let's go ahead and rank Aliens. Aliens is S rank. I love this movie. I am a little biased here because I'm a huge fan of James Cameron's early work. The Terminator, T2, and this are just fantastic sci-fi action films that absolutely deliver on both action, character study, character drama, and scares. You know, just because Cameron's films are more sci-fi leaning, they do have horror elements. So that's why I even appreciate the Terminator in that regard, because it's sort of like the first Aliens, where it's like a slasher flick with this weird monster, but like there's a little more prestige to it. There's a story, there's character, you know, it's not Friday the 13th. That's why to me it is S tier. It's just fantastic. Next up is Alien 3, and guess where I'm gonna put it? Right up there with the first movie. Getting past the opening shock that Newt and Hicks are dead and Ripley is the only one that survived, you really start to feel this movie. It's one of those weird sequels where it just completely rips away the ending of the last film and throws you into a completely different movie. But all of the elements of Alien are there. I think that the character study, the character drama, the horror, are still here. You know, they're elevated to another level of in terms of darkness. This is not a fun action flick. This is a depressing sci-fi horror story with this weird little alien. And then you get the fact that Ripley is now impregnated with the alien queen. It is just next level horrifying because it's our main character. She's about to die? What? And she does. It's actually insane that they ended the trilogy this way. They had the balls to actually do it. Honestly, if it ended here, it's kind of a perfect wrap-up to the trilogy. It's actually insane. But I think that's why I love it. Because of how off the book it is. It's kind of brilliant. Even though David Fincher disowns this film completely, I absolutely love it. Next is a bizarre-ass flick, and I love it to death. That's why I'm giving it a B. Alien Resurrection is number 4. And it's definitely the most goofiest of them all. It's got that 90s cheese to it. However, they still keep it relatively in-universe. They kind of make the humor work because it is hundreds of years later, so you can kind of write off the goofiness and like weird, like the weird traits people have, especially the scientists, as just hundreds of years into the future. Wayland is still doing this shit, and they're even crazier, you know? So you can kind of write it off, but it is just like, it is off-putting and jarring because this is just not the series we're used to. And also, this is probably the movie with like the weakest crew. You know, I really love the crews of all of these movies, you know, so I mean, the fact that they didn't really leave a lasting impression on me is kind of telling. The only aspects of the movie I really enjoy is Ripley's clone, her journey of self-actualization, self-revelation, trying to figure out who she is. She has these old memories, but also these weird instincts. I think it's very philosophical in nature, her character study. And that's like the biggest aspect of the movie that really draws me in, is watching her go through this philosophical journey with herself. But also what happens at the end, too. The alien hybrid that this film created is so scary, so horrifying, and also so heartbreaking. Because the hybrid sees Ripley as its mother. So when it feels betrayed, Ripley feels that. She's heartbroken too, and it breaks my heart. It's the one thing that's always stuck with me throughout my childhood. It's kind of like burned into my brain, that moment, because this movie was on cable all the time. And this is the one I watched the most, and so I have some nostalgia for it big time. But like rewatching it, I can see its problems, and I've always kind of seen them, but you know, I've enjoyed the movie so much, it doesn't affect me that much. So that's why I'm putting it at B. It's really not that bad. Besides those the corniness, the humor, or like the bad CG, you know, it doesn't break the movie. All right, next up on our list, of course, in release order that we're in, it's going to be AVP. I'm putting it in C rank because I actually think that this is a good movie. A lot of people hate this movie, and I sort of see why. The supporting characters are almost non-existent, so I can totally give it that. But the biggest contention is the fact that it doesn't fit in the Alien canon that well at all, since it takes place in 2004. So when we actually learned when they were created, this just completely knocked it out of the canon timeline. I feel like it fits better with the Predator timelines. So if you just take these AVP movies as a sequel to Predator movies and just there's a xenomorph in the background. You can just kind of skirt by the fact that it's just a fun action movie. It's directed by Paul W.S. Anderson, who infamously did the Resident Evil saga, which I absolutely love the Resident Evil movies. I know that they do not follow the games at all, but I love them as turn your brain off action flicks that just so happen to use some Resident Evil elements, and I just don't want to get too upset about it. So I know that they're not going to ever be an adaptation of the video game's story completely, so I just have a fun ride with Alice. And that's what I did with this one. I completely wrote it off on either timeline for my brain, and I'm just like, let me focus on the action and how much of a fun ride it potentially can be. And it was. You know, it's not a fun ride is AVP Requiem. That's a complete failure of a film. I don't even want to talk about it that much. It's ugly. It's dumb. Just doesn't make any fucking sense. It should not exist at all. This is an abomination of a film, and let's move on. So after the terrible AVP sequel, we finally went back to the root of Alien. Ridley Scott came back to direct Prometheus. I think it's fantastic. A lot of people give this one flack because of how flip-floppy it is with if it's an Alien prequel or not. It absolutely is. It's not like a direct prequel, though. It's setting up this overarching narrative of how we got to the first movie, and not necessarily chapters of like telling prequel stories. The fact that the engineers created humans sort of regretted it, or maybe not. Who knows? That's still up in the air, actually. And created this bioweapon to kill us off, but that didn't happen, is so f***ing interesting. It blows my mind how philosophical that this thing gets. If you haven't rewatched Prometheus in 10 plus years, like I did, you need to rewatch this with a brand new set of eyes, because it's excellent and it holds up so well. Now, Alien Covenant was a weird one for me because I completely skipped out on it in theaters because of the terrible word of mouth. And at that time, I only saw Prometheus once in 2012, and I didn't really like it back then. So I was like, I don't really want a sequel to it. Even though it says Alien in the title, I'm just kind of not interested. So when I rewatched all of these films for this ranking, this was the first time I had watched this, and I was pleasantly surprised. It's kind of a terrible Prometheus sequel because it kills Shaw off in the background. The event of David completely destroying this planet's life was just brushed over. So I feel like there's a movie missing in there. I feel like this could have been the third Prometheus. And then there was a movie stuck in there where at the end Shaw dies and David lives on and just keeps hanging out on this planet, still doing his thing there, you know? Which that's where he ended up in Covenant. So I thought that was kind of interesting, because it almost seemed reactionary for what Ridley Scott did, because he saw that everyone wanted xenomorphs. So he kind of sped up the story to where we can get to that point, but now you have this huge gap. So it's like a weird trade-off, honestly, because I appreciate it for answering those questions that Prometheus left us hanging with, but also there's still more to be answered. So So that's why in the next movie on this list, the final one we're going to be talking about, I appreciate that they did use an aspect of the Prometheus films, the black goo. It's interesting that Wayland has it now. And it's also interesting because now there's this huge gap again of what happened to David, how did Wayland get the goo, blah, 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 blah. The Prometheus storyline is definitely not over. So yes, finally, let's get to Alien Romulus, the movie y'all been waiting for me to talk about, the one that you're here for. Where does it stack up with the rest? I'm gonna get so much hate for this. I know I'm gonna get so much hate for this. I'm sorry. But I fucking love this movie so much. It's absolutely incredible. It's so scary. It's horrifying. It's bloody. It's tense as hell. And it's an Alien movie that did Alien so right altogether. Like, Fede Alvarez is, I think, the next king of the alien world. He should be helming every movie after this. I feel like this is the first, like, straight horror alien film. When this new version of the alien hybrid that's like human but also engineer, when it first came on screen, I have never wanted to actually scream at the screen in my life before this movie. When it was going on, it was so silent in the theater and dead quiet that I would just ruin it if I screamed. So I was like, ah. But here's the thing. Alien's back, baby. It ain't going anywhere. It's here to stay, and I just cannot wait for more. I was so excited for this, too, because Fede Alvarez is the director of the Evil Dead remake, and I think that's the best remake of all time. I love the Evil Dead remake so much. It's exactly like I said with this one. Scary, intense, edge of your seat. And so he brought that exactly over to Alien. It's not as gory or bloody as Evil Dead. That one actually made me want to puke at points. I really appreciate the elements that he took from that Evil Dead and put it into space, you know? So if you're looking for a super scary and gory ass film, here it is right here. Summer of 2024. It's right there. Go watch it if you haven't already. What else is there to even say about this movie? I do want to talk about the characters. You know, it's tradition for these films to not have the best characters, and I think that still stands true because a lot of these characters are one note, but there's a few that aren't, and I don't want to spoil it or anything, but there's one that I really was rooting for to live, and she didn't make it, and it was so actually depressing because that's another thing I wanted to talk about too, is the roller coaster of emotions this movie actually puts you on. I've never felt this type of ride in a film before, so I mean, I might still be running on that Alien Romulus high, but I feel like this will still hold up as one of my favorite Alien films of all time on a rewatch, which I planned to do before this video, but I just never got around to it. But there you go. There's my ranking of every Alien theatrical film. How does it stack up to your ranking? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching, and I really hope you all have a great day. Please subscribe for those next couple of ranking videos I'm going to be doing. I'm very excited for the Crow one. That's going to be so much fun to talk about because I love the Crow. The first film is my favorite film of all time, and I really want to talk about the sequels because I think they're interesting to talk about. Again, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.